Hey guys, since I have finally ended reviewing every single damn Hellraiser movie, let's rank them. This is probably going to be my first ranking video that's actually not a short because I would do them in shorts so I can show you pictures, but I'll just say them because then I can talk about them more. But coming in at number 11, my least favorite of this franchise, probably shouldn't be a surprise to anyone who's been watching this review series, and that would be Hellraiser Inferno. What the hell was this movie? I absolutely hated this movie. I was expecting it to be good because Scott Derrickson, he made my favorite horror movie of 2022, and he's made pretty good other ones. He made a good Doctor Strange movie, and he made Sinister, which I think is actually really enjoyable. And when I found out he directed this movie, you should have a lot of hope, right? I thought this could easily be at least my second favorite of this franchise. But nope, this barely feels like a damn Hellraiser movie because it wasn't supposed to be one, and Dimension Films, they wanted to retain the rights, so they made this movie, and then they made so many other Hellraiser movies that do not feel like damn Hellraiser movies. But I'll talk about that one. I'll talk about those other ones. I absolutely hated this movie. I don't exactly blame Scott Derrickson because he never made this to be a Hellraiser movie. And I just absolutely hated the character of this movie. He was just horrible. He was just a character that I just could not get along with. This is just a character I had a hard time following throughout the entire movie. It's just, I hated this character, and a lot of decisions that they made in this movie were horrible. But the only thing that I really liked about this one was when it was Pinhead, when he was giving the speech to the main character. That's the really only thing that I like about this movie. But my number 10 is going to be Hellraiser Hellseeker. Now, the only reason that this is not last, Inferno and Hellseeker were so damn close to being my least favorite of this series. But what helped Hellseeker not being my least favorite was Kirsty Cotton in this movie. She was awesome. I think the more I thought about it, and when I reviewed it, I said it was a mixed aspect, but I do like seeing her come back. She's not utilized very well in the twist at the end. I thought that was really cool, but they completely wasted that. That's what saves this movie. But like Inferno, the character, he's just stupid. He sucks, and every single girl in this movie just wants to have sex with him. And no joke, this entire movie, he gets in a car crash, goes everywhere. His boss wants to fuck him. His neighbor wants to fuck him. Pretty much everyone wants to have sex with this guy. Moving on. Number 9 for me is going to be Hellraiser Judgment. Now, a lot of people seem to say that this actually feels like a Hellraiser movie and finally gets on track with it being actually feeling like a Hellraiser movie. But I actually had hope that this would actually be good. But when I watched it, it didn't feel like a Hellraiser movie. It felt like Seven. I actually forgot to mention that in my review because I was really tired at that point and I had to get ready for school and all that. But no, well, I wasn't getting ready for school. I had to go to bed to get ready for school. And when I was reviewing it, the more I thought about it, I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to mention that this was pretty much a Seven ripoff. And it's stupid. And then the twist at the end, you find out the main character you've been following is the guy who's been killing these 10 people. And I actually thought the Pinhead was actually good in this movie. It's not great. It's better than the one that we got in Revelations. And it's nowhere close to being as good as Doug Bradley. But I thought the Auditor, I think he's the best part about this movie. I do like how he's played by the director. He doesn't have acting skills, but he does pretty good in this movie for it being his first time acting because it was a low budget. But other than that, this movie is stupid. The opening of this movie just makes me want to fucking vomit every time I think about it. Go watch my review and then you can talk about it because I feel if I just talk about it here, I'm just going to fucking vomit everywhere. But yeah, I'm not going to talk about this movie that much because all I have to say is that this movie fucking sucked, pretty much. Number 8, probably a very popular pick for being a lot of people's least favorite, and that is Hellraiser Revelations. Now, when I walked into this movie, I already expected to hate this one because a lot of people kept saying that this was easily the worst of this series. This is easily one of the worst movies ever made. This is the worst movie ever made, I've heard, actually. And I've even heard people say that this should be banished out of existence. But I actually had a decent time with it. It's fine. I don't recommend it to everybody, but it's only low on this list because the more I thought about it, the more it's just okay. What really holds it back is the pinhead of this movie and the acting. That's what really holds it back for me, because the pinhead in this, I've even heard I've heard jokes saying that this is the great value version of Pinhead, which I can agree. He does look really bad in this. And yeah, I thought this movie was fine. I don't think this should be banished out of existence. At least this movie finally feels like a Hellraiser movie, where you get the trope from Hellraiser 1 and 2 where this person needs blood to live and all that. And when he takes his friend's skin, and the guy who plays him and plays in two different characters. That part of this movie was awesome, and I really liked that. But like I said, the acting and the pinhead of this movie and a lot of the other things that they used in this, it just did not work for me. Number 8. No, number 9. I'm sorry. Number 7 would be Hellraiser Deader. Now, I did flip-flop of Hellraiser Revelations and Deader, which one would be my least, which one would be ahead. But I gotta say, ahead of Hellraiser Revelations would be Hellraiser Deader. This movie is not any better than Hellraiser Revelations. It's really not as better as the other ones that I just talked about earlier. Pretty much the ones I'm talking about right now, they're all pretty much shit. Until I get to my number 5, I would at least recommend them. But Hellraiser Deader is just dumb. It doesn't even feel like a Hellraiser movie. Surprise. It doesn't feel like a Hellraiser movie. This feels more like a detective TV show that they would air on Fox. And this movie just feels dumb. And I don't like the whole cult thing where if they kill them and then this guy like kisses them and then they come back to life like a fucking Sleeping Beauty thing. I just did not like that, and this movie wasn't that much fun. And I really didn't really like anything about this movie until like the 9 kills that Pinhead gets when he takes all the chains and he like goes through them. The CGI there did look bad, but I did like that part. But yeah, I just don't like this movie very much. Number 6 would be Hellraiser Hellworld. Like I said, this one is not better than the other ones. This movie is still really bad. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought it's just fine. I do like the one guy that's like the main villain, that has like this gigantic mansion, and like he brings all these kids here to get killed by the Cenobites. I do like that. That could have just worked on its own movie, but like I said, Dimension Films, they just needed to retain the rights, and they put Pinhead in this. And when I saw the cover for this movie, I remember when I saw the cover, I instantly thought Pinhead in the Matrix, and I thought Pinhead would actually go into the Matrix. But nope, it's just about a bunch of kids that play a video game about the limit configuration. That's not much better. Number 5, maybe a controversial pick. Hellraiser 2. Now here on up, I would actually recommend these ones that you would at least like check out or stream it. But my number 5 would be Hellraiser 2. Now, a lot of people that I talk to and that they're fans of this series or just casual fans, I think I've heard people say the most that this is their favorite of this franchise, and that's kind of weird. Which I kind of get, but it just doesn't work for me that much. I can enjoy this movie, but it's not going to be one of those Hellraiser movies where the second I watch the first movie, I put on this one. It's never going to be like that for me. I remember I would watch this movie as a kid. This was a movie that introduced me into the Hellraiser series. But I did like it as a kid, but now I just think it's fine. It's never going to be a movie where I rewatch it. Where this movie doesn't even feel like a Hellraiser movie at some points. Where, I mean, it is a Hellraiser movie. I'm not talking about like, oh, they just wanted to retain the rights, so they just put Pinhead in a movie that wasn't supposed to be Hellraiser. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that this movie is kind of too goofy. Like with the doctor guy with the big slug thing on his head and all that. And how the fact that he just wipes out the Cenobites like they're fucking trash. That's just embarrassing. Like, you get Pinhead, who's like the strongest thing on the planet pretty much. And this guy just cuts his throat, and like this guy just turns it back into human and cuts his throat like he's nothing. Like, you think Pinhead, like, you've seen him in the other movies, how strong he is in those, but in this one, he just looks like a pussy. Yeah, that's pretty much that. But I do like this movie for what it is. I like Kirsty Cotton coming back. I do like the one chick from the first movie. I kind of forget her name. What's her name? I forget her name. She is the person that like cheated on her husband in the first movie and slept with Frank. I forget her name, but I probably will at the end of this ranking maybe. But I don't know. I do like seeing them back, and that's pretty much what saved the movie. And Doug Bradley, I think he's a little bit better in this movie. Number 4 would be Hellraiser 4. Number 4 for me would be Hellraiser 4 Bloodline. I enjoyed this movie. I do like how it plays like 3 different timelines of this movie. Where one you get in like the 1700s, one you get in the modern day this movie was made in, and then one is in space in like 2023 maybe. I don't know. It's like in the future, I mean 2000s. I do like this movie. I do have a lot of fun with it. If I just want to just sit back and relax and just watch a Hellraiser movie, I would watch this one because this one is a lot of fun and it doesn't try to take itself too seriously, but I don't like really the space aspect. And a lot of the acting is not that great in this either, but I do like when they're facing Angelique. I accidentally said her name wrong in my review. Please do not yell at me about that. Angelique is awesome, like her Cenobite, when you can see her skull and they're like pulling down her skin and like attached to her shoulders. I love her in this movie. I think she's easily the best part about this movie, and I honestly really enjoyed this movie. Number 3 for me personally would actually be Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. Now the only reason it's this high up is because I'm a slasher guy. A lot of my favorite horror movies have to do with slashers. Jason, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Chucky. I grew up watching those guys. And that's what I would really honestly expect from Hellraiser. I remember when I saw the cover for Hellraiser, I thought it was just going to be like another Jason, Michael, or Chucky, or Freddy, and all that. But the original movie was not that, but I'll talk about that later. This is where you will actually get to see what people thought what Pinhead and Hellraiser would be about. And I enjoy it. This is a movie, it doesn't try to take itself seriously, and I honestly do like the little CD Cenobite. I don't think they have a name for him. I think he's a little goofy, but I do enjoy him. But the other ones, I'm a little meh, they're fine. But I do like the CD guy. I think he's pretty funny. Number 2 would be the new kid on the block, and that is Hellraiser 2022 that premiered on Hulu last Friday. I was honestly really surprised by this movie. It finally feels like a Hellraiser movie. The characters aren't that great, but the Pinhead in this movie was fucking awesome. The person who plays her, I forget her name, I'm very sorry. She made this character her own. She was awesome in this movie, and I liked how they used the configuration where every time you solve it, it needs a soul, then it goes into a different form, then you have to keep solving it until it gets to its final form, then hell can pretty much come on Earth. I like that. That is really cool. But what does hold this movie back for me is the characters. I don't like the characters that much. I did not care if they lived or died. There's no Kirsty Cotton in this movie. I just don't think that Hellraiser has, like, had one of those popular final girls. Like, I mean, Kirsty Cotton, she's fine in the first movie. I think she's pretty good in the first movie, actually. And the second one, I think she's really good. But in Hellseeker, she's completely wasted. But I'm glad to see her in that. But other than all that, I think this movie was awesome, and it finally felt like a Hellraiser movie, and it finally got back on track. But my number 1, which should not surprise anyone, and that is the original Hellraiser. I think this movie was awesome. When I first watched it as a kid, I thought it was fine. I thought it was kind of boring, though. But rewatching it a few times and rewatching it for my review series, this movie is awesome. I have a lot of fun with it. This movie, it doesn't even feel like it's supposed to be a slasher. I just like the story where you just get this guy who solved the command configuration, and then his soul gets pretty much sent to them, and then a blood like raises him out of hell. The blood raises him out of hell, and then he asks this lady to get blood for him so he can become human again. But then, like, the Cenobites, they find out that that he left, and Kirsty makes a deal with them to bring him in. I think this movie's awesome, and it's also just a simple story, and it's a shame that the sequels kind of messed up this movie. This movie's a lot of fun, and I absolutely enjoyed it. What is your guys' ranking of the Hellraiser series? Put them in the comments below, and we will talk about it, and we will probably yell at each other, about our opinions. But until my next video, take care.